We're going to talk about a hot topic in a little bit of a different way. So, as you all know by now, last month there was a murder of another black man. Tyree Nichols was killed by five police officers while EMT and firefighters watched. Many people have been fired. Many things have happened since then. Um, and so we're going to discuss how each of us copes with these situations because they clearly continue to happen. We clearly continue to see body cam footage, cell phone footage of young black men being slain by police officers on a regular basis. And so that's what we're going to discuss. Dre thought it was a good topic to talk about how we are coping with it, and everybody felt the same. So we're going to talk about that. Not so much about the murders that continue to happen, but more how we are using tools to cope with it or how we're struggling to cope with it. And so that is what we're going to start with. Um, Anybody want to go first specifically?
Yeah, I'll go first. I mean,
Go
I
ahead.
did bring it up. I brought this up um, for various reasons, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I did want to. I thought it would be important to see how men of color see this and what kind of strategies they use to sort of deal with it. And I mean, both, mentally, like how you like go on about your day, and then also like physically, right? As
Mm-hmm.
you guys know, I am a self defense martial arts professional, and when I saw this, I teach young men throughout the week. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and it was hard for me to deal with mentally, and part of my process of dealing with it is like, well, what strategies can I try to teach these young men, or just really anybody, honestly, because it's like we know that these things happen. We know that we're targeted in one way or another, and so like, what are some things like we have to like actually like do? And not to say that, well, yeah, doing these things will guarantee your safety, because we already know that there is no guarantee for your safety. But I am interested in, how y'all feel. So for me, I know it's really hard for me to deal with this, like on a mental and an emotional level. It really just hurt me. I mean, I took my time to watch it. I wasn't going to watch that video, but I felt I had a responsibility to watch it in terms of what I do, and because I am in schools, and when people bring it up, I want to be able to have a honest conversation about it. And so,
Right.
my sort of mental or emotional coping mechanism is doing just that, doing this sort of like deep dive into the actual things that like happened, and saying, okay, well, what are some things that we could do? So for me, it's like, well, um, you know, number one is watching it in a way that not I can never take the emotion out of it, and it does hurt, but actually seeing like, wow, how could this person have like moved, or what what could they have done? And then it's Tyree Nichols. It's just like I can't see any other way of like looking at it. That's why it's so sad, because it's like it's really nothing that he did, unless you guys got other information than me. But it's just like he got really just took out the car. There was no sense of like, you know, comply or whatever. Um and Yeah, I just kind of feel like, hey, we need to I don't know, man. It's just like I feel like we need to just like understand that yes, we have to have police, but really limit our interactions with police officers in any way. You know what I'm saying? It's like, how do we do that? And so for me, I try to really not engage with them. I try to not have conversations with them at all. I try to tell my students, the same thing. If they pull me over, I keep my conversations very like small, just whatever they want. So, for instance, I'm in the car. I'm just like, yo, I keep all my license, registration, everything in one little pouch. So I don't want to be fumbling around looking for stuff because, they'll be like, oh, I thought you was reaching for something. So I keep everything in there and I just hand it to you. Here you go. I don't talk to them about where I'm going. I don't talk to them about where I'm coming from. I don't give them any more information than what's on there. I don't tell them what I do for a living. I pretty much try to stay silent. When they're around me. I respectfully do not decline any questions that they ask me. And, for me, it just, I just feel like that's the thing that makes me a little bit more comfortable is by disengaging, because I just believe, and it just could be my trauma. I just believe that they're not on my side. There's nothing I can say that's going for them to be like, oh, yeah, you're cool, like no. If they
Right.
have it in for you, they're going to try to find a way to put you into this box. And so that's one of my tactics is just like, yo, remain silent, keep your distance, and try not to interact with them at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's your coping mechanism is to try to disengage and deal with them as little as possible.
Yes. Yes. As well as
Okay.
analyze whatever I just saw that, you know, put me into that, depressive state.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't mind responding next. So for me, the answer has changed over time. Um, 11 years ago, I wrote a song about it and spoke about many of the things that have happened via police brutality to different people, some of the things that should be changing, some of the things that people have said that are correct. Um, I've been involved in protests, Occupy Wall Street, and others as well. Um, Also was part of helping Anonymous back in the 2012 2013 era of helping voice certain things and try to push for change. All of that is public record. People know that if they've been around this time, but for those who don't, then you know those things. And since then, in 2014, 15, I wrote another song saying, like, maybe it's not going to change until we really unify and force change. And that's, another thing I've done. So for me, it's changed, right? It was protesting at one point, it was being an online activist at another point. It was writing music at another point. Today, it's a little bit of everything.
Mhm.
But also, the problem is today it's heightened. We see body cam footage all the time. We see people's cell phone footage of the incident all the time. And so we see it now more than ever. Not to say that it's happening more or less, but we physically see it with our eyes on our devices, on the news, on television, pretty much every other week at this point. And so today, it's not one answer. It changes based on what it is. It may be, I'm not going to watch this video because I've heard details that this is going to be too hard to watch.
Right.
And so today, to cope, I'm going to understand that this fucked up thing happened, maybe even read about it, but not watch it. Because I know personally today I feel like, well, what has to happen for the shit to change, right? Because it's been happening, it's going to keep happening, it's not going anywhere. And so if we're not going to purge, it's not going to change, just speaking very bluntly. And so I don't see anybody getting ready to purge. And so then I need to do different things that are going to help me be okay. And so that changes. It could be writing a song, it could be going for a run, it could be going for a walk. I'm going to do the things that I feel in that moment based on the situation that are going to help me kind of relax and reset. But it's something we all kind of walk around with, which is what I said in our group chat when we first brought up the topic. Like, I don't think anybody here is like, oh, they killed another black guy. Yay, great. One less bad guy out there. No, it's something I think everyone here feels is fucked up and shouldn't be happening and should never have happened in the first place. And so it's happening so normally today that we have to kind of do different things. And so I understand that there are different tools available for me. And so I try to use them based on the situation. You know, what happened when George Floyd passed might be different than what happened when Tyree Nichols passed, as far as what I need to do to be okay in that moment. And so I try to use whatever tools are available to me, but understand that this is not going anywhere. So in different situations, okay, yeah, maybe I saw the video and said, all right, let me write a quick verse, whether I recorded or not. Or I said, damn, you know what? This is too much to write a verse, and I'm crying and I'm overwhelmed. I'm gonna go get a long run and try to get this physically off of me. So those are my tools.
No doubt.
I I guess I'll go. With me, this situation I didn't watch. There's a this YouTube I watch. Named Philip DeFranco. Really good, like crunch, just like a news crunch show.
Okay.
It's really
Mm-hmm.
good. And he didn't show it on his stream, or didn't show it. Not on his stream, but his video. But he definitely got into details and how it was. And I trust Philip. Like this guy has been my guy for like the last like 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And just hearing the horrific the details from the lawyer, the pinata thing resonates with me really really harsh. Um, Situations like this just anger me because it's a sense of helplessness. It's a sense of what as we the people can do
Mm-hmm.
legally to stop this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not trying to make this as political, but if things are going to happen, they're going to happen in this political office, and we know that, as we've seen before. Um, and then when we riot and protest, you know, unfortunately, there's some bad eggs. They're going to take advantage and do the looting and stuff, and then the press focuses on that instead of the causality of the riot, which is why are people outside angry? Also, during the middle of a pandemic, right, where everybody's supposed to be home,
Mm-hmm.
they don't grasp to that. They grasp about you know people stealing shoes from Foot Locker and stuff, but they're not talking about the causality here. They're not talking about the abusive control that these officers have and how far they go into it. It's as a parent, it's hard for me to tell my kids like, hey, listen, something bad happens to you, call the cops. How am I supposed to tell them that?
Right.
You have people who call the cops, and guess what? The cops victim
Right.
you.
Yeah.
Right.
In the last couple of years, there's been a couple incidents. I'm calling the cops for you to help me, and yet I'm dead.
Right.
How does that make sense? These are people that, and I hate that line. I pay I pay your salary type shit. But at the end of the day, they're supposed to be protecting us, not killing us.
Right.
And in no way, shape, or form you can rationalize to me that 5 men with an army of people around them is justifiable to take a life.
Right.
That you cannot stop this guy. There's no control. There's no training. There's no psychoanalyst that goes into them. These are people who are at the ready at all times, and they don't know when to stop. And that's what I'm seeing as the issue.
Right.
We could all come up with a different solution here and there, but it's nothing real is going to happen, right? A cop's not going to rat out another cop, and if they do, guess what? That person who rats out gets shunned and disconnected.
Right.
So it's a system that is set to fail, but also prospers on failing because it gets stronger in that way. Because yes, now those officers are arrested, but guess what? Are anybody else going to get sensitivity? We didn't hear about it. We don't see it. And if they do, what sensitivity are they getting?
Right.
What training are they getting?
All right. And so,
So
go ahead.
so like it gives me a sense of hopelessness only because there is no justification to what's going to happen after this. You can't bring back that person's life. No matter how much money you throw into the family's pockets, that's not going to bring that person back.
Yeah.
Right.
People want to vilify George Floyd for being hopped up on drugs or whatever. That's not the point. He needed help. He was begging for help. And the people that are supposed to help him is the one that's taking his life. How am I supposed to tell my kids that's okay? When you're in trouble, call that person. I can't.
Right. And so I
You
think,
know,
like I said, I think we all agree that the system is doing bad things. Some of us believe the system is broken. Others believe the system is doing exactly what it was designed to do. And so I want to discuss that less and discuss the question, which is, so what do you do to cope in these moments?
me, I honestly, I have to flush it out. Just let it ring out because, as I just got a second ago, I really get flustered. I really
Yeah.
get angry because there is, this, like I said, the word that goes through me is hopelessness. Right? It's just, and in hopelessness, I'm not saying just as a blanket term. I see no feasible option for me or anyone in that situation to get out of there.
Mhm.
You know, you comply with, they say, oh, comply with the officers. How am I supposed to feel hope? Oh, when I go see a cop, that's fine. I'm gonna go comply with them. No, they abuse their power.
Right.
And then if you try to outsmart them or say, listen, I know my rights, and you're contesting them, they have the guns. They have the backup. So my coping, it doesn't work right because I'm angry.
Right.
Right.
When George Floyd happened, I remember I was sitting down, I was watching a video, or let's see what this is about. And to me, I wanted that to be the last video I ever watch when it comes to that. Unfortunately, it wasn't, but it's very impactful because you see the face and you hear it. You hear that. And again, it's just it's anger and hopelessness. It's a very nasty
Yeah.
feeling.
Right.
I dig it.
And so what do you do? Oh, I'm
And
sorry. Go ahead.
so what I do is I honestly I handle anger differently.
Mhm.
I just
Yeah.
coast it out. I
Yeah.
have to
I
coast it out.
respect that.
If I do something musically, if I do something musically, fine. If I stream to just divert the attention to something else, it's I do that.
Okay.
But as far as coping, it's just
Yeah.
if I could, I'd play a game of football and just try to tackle
Yeah.
everybody I could.
Yeah.
That's it.
Gotcha.
No, that's
Okay.
I respect that, man, because sometimes that's we all feel hopeless. You know what I'm saying? We all feel hopeless. So
Right.
I definitely relate to that. And sometimes getting through it is just getting through it. All right. Take
Right.
it one day at a time, 1 hour at a time, whatever you need to do. So I definitely respect that, man.
Yeah. Um, Yeah, I agree. And I don't think there's any wrong answer, too, to be
Right.
clear. I know Dex and Ness haven't chimed in yet, but I don't think there's a wrong answer. I just don't want to focus on the incidents and what's happening. I want to try to speak more about the tools we're using to deal with said
Right.
incidents. Because everyone is talking about what happened and doing think pieces and, all this podcasting and news reporting. And so I want to speak more about, I'm more interested in discussing the coping mechanisms, one, because we have an audience who may be able to use some of those
Right.
tools, and two, because we're sharing amongst each other. And so I think it's a win-win regardless. So yeah, Dex, Ness, what are your thoughts?
Um, Practically speaking, I'm more along the lines of what Dre said. I'm just disengaged. I don't even pay attention to them. They don't talk to them. I have nothing to say. But that's because, look, man, I'm way my mindset. My coping. Besides what Dre said, my coping is to keep the same mindset of not letting myself feel like I'm criminalized just because I'm black. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I've done it all my life. You walk in the store, you get followed around, you
Right.
or you being careful not to walk too close behind somebody or at night. I don't care no more.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm walking. I walk my head up high. I'm not a criminal. I don't
Right.
care what you think anymore. So that's why I don't pay any attention to them. I think these situations we have. Well, I mean that's my coping mechanism. But like we've already mentioned, we have poorly trained cops. You know what I mean? In the words of KRS One, the police department is like a crew that does whatever
They
they
want to
want to
do.
do. You know what I'm saying?
No
Right.
You know what I
doubt.
mean?
No doubt.
All
No
right.
doubt.
In the words of KRS One, 88, he said that. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I was just about to ask you, when did he say that?
yeah,
Because
he
I
said
bet you
it
that
in
wasn't
88.
anytime recent.
Yes. It's,
All right. I know the album, right? So
right.
so I look at it that way. I'm like Dre. I'm just disengaged, man. I ain't, if they approach me, ID. That's all I have to say.
Right.
I'm a grown ass man. You're not gonna make me feel any which way. You know what I'm saying? But that's the problem is that seeing all these cases, it makes my mind want to revert back to being nervous to go in the store and browse, or
Yeah.
walk behind somebody too much and they're looking back. I don't care no more, man. You know what I mean? I stopped caring, and I'm not gonna let the coping mechanism is not to let these situations make me worried about that again. You know what I'm saying?
Okay,
So that's
Yeah.
my
I dig that.
thoughts.
No doubt.
You know.
That was good. Ness.
Um, so in general, for me, um, I like to resort to dark humor or to find to try to keep some light in situations when I'm dealing with them personally.
Okay.
Stuff like this, it's a lot harder to do.
Yeah.
Um, but I think mostly it's just uh, take it in, be angry about it,
Hmm.
and wait for the next time because like it's just gonna keep going and it fucking sucks. Um, yeah, I mean, sitting in it. That's kind of how I deal with most things. Mostly because for the most part, my brain doesn't. Uh, if it's not immediately in front of me, I'm not gonna be thinking about it. And then when it does come back in front of me, it's like, oh right, this happened, and like I remember I'm super upset about something.
Hmm.
So when it is things like that, it's either sitting in it or distract myself, counter the emotions with something else lighter, just to keep myself from wallowing in just darkness the whole
Yeah.
time.
No
Got
doubt.
it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yo, I respect that too, man, because you know I just wanted to um state that what
Ness
uh
said.
that's the saying in terms of like that anger, and I think that that's incredibly important because we forget that we are human beings,
Right.
like Dex is saying, and we do have the full spectrum of emotions, and one of those emotions is anger, and sometimes anger is a proper emotion. You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
it's good to be like, yo, this makes me angry, and understand that, yo, I'm choosing to be angry about this because of what the circumstance is. But one other thing I wanted to say, what Tess has said in terms of what's going on now,
Hopelessness.
you know, huh? Yeah. In
No, go
terms
ahead. Go
of
ahead.
like the rioting, the one thing I do want to give credit to is that this time, the family specifically said before the video came out, because they saw it first, obviously, and they were like,
Yeah.
look, we don't want any rioting. This is it's painful, but we want people to learn from this. We want people to get fired. We want people to go to jail, but we don't want any rioting. And the one thing I will say, in terms of this situation, unlike what happened to you know, uh, uh, Floyd. It's like nobody rioted in Memphis. Nobody rioted. Nobody really rioted across the city that I've heard of, like in like hoods or whatever. Like nobody was really rioting, and people really respected what the family asked for, and just said, okay, we got this system. Let's see what the system's going to do. So I do want to say that in terms of, we can look at that as progress, in terms of like, all right, you
Hmm.
can't sit there and be like, well, yeah, we went and stole things from stores, and it was none of that. It was like, nah, we're going to deep dive into this. We are going to be angry, and we're going to hold everybody responsible for what happened. And so for that, I do feel a glimpse of hope, even though I still understand what you're saying in terms of it feeling like a hopeless situation. Yeah.
Got you. All right. So Days was able to join us. Very excited about that. We already gave him a lot of love off mic, and so we want to give Days a chance to respond as well before we move on to our next topic.
Um, well, I'm this these particular situations. I haven't seen any footage, like videos. I haven't. read anything. It's just like I'm it's not nothing that we haven't seen already. We haven't heard, seen already. So as far as coping, um, like I said, man, artistically, the message is gonna always be in the music, and the music is gonna reflect the times. You get what
Yeah,
I'm
no doubt,
saying?
no
So
doubt.
I'm gonna
Right.
I'm gonna definitely put it into the art. Put the word out there, and not to mention, unfortunately, some people may say, well, these things ain't going nowhere. They constantly happen. They happen over and over again. It's the same way with the music. Like I got a song right now called Witness, AKA F the Police. And I dropped it like how many years ago and it's still relevant.
Right.
So the stuff that we are creating, based off of what we're experiencing is somewhat timeless as well. You get
Yeah,
what I'm saying? And hopefully
Right.
somebody could take something from it, you know, because everybody, may feel a different way about this particular situation based on their age, the era, demographic, things like that. Um, but back to the answer to the original question, man, coping. I just try to do things artistically, exercise, of course. Keep yourself active, stay in shape. Because if you train the mind, the body shall
no
follow.
doubt.
You get what
Yeah,
I'm saying? So definitely try to do that because unless you have an organization where you could impact something directly, you understand what I'm saying? Where you could move and shake something up directly. Um, you kind of got to maintain your own sanity, your own kind of like serenity. You feel what
yeah,
I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because it's so constant and it's so consistent that it's like you could try to get over one and then there's another one and then you go to sleep at and then you wake up and it's another one. You get what
Right.
I'm saying? So it's like you have to kind of find a way to kind of cope with that. So I do it artistically.
Absolutely. That was a great answer. And yeah, that's exactly what we said before you came in. Like, it's happening constantly. It's not going anywhere, and that's why we thought it was a good conversation to bring to the pod, because not so much the incident or the incidents that continue to happen, but how we each individually are coping with things in different ways.
right.
So that was
Yes.
great. I'm
And
glad you
and
were
and
able
and,
to
and you
go ahead.
said and it's hurtful. I don't even want to say hurtful, but it's quite disappointing to even say the words it ain't going nowhere. Like that within itself is quite disappointing. You know what I mean?
I
Just
agree.
to even know that. So I just wanted to leave that right there.
No, that was good. I agree. Yeah. So